Thanks, Al. Appreciate it. I'm gonna share here. And oh, thanks. So we talked last week a little bit about like different people that would be coming through the center so that we could kind of build, make sure that we're building, um, the system and we can input them. So I've come up with a few scenarios and want to run them through you real quick and make sure that like these are, these are actual things that happen and that the little 5 little scenarios I have cover, you can tell me how real are they? And two, do the 5 scenarios like in total cover a good portion of the type of people that come in so that we can build like, test data and stuff like that for them and make sure that we can enter them into the system and get them through the process. And so I'm looking at, this is where I'm not real experienced in this kind of stuff. So I'm counting on you just kind of give me the gut check and say, hey, this is true of someone that might come in, or no, this never happens. Don't even worry about it. So our first person is Emily. She's 22. She's experiencing homelessness. She has a young daughter. She'd like to become a nurse. And she has a lack of stable housing, financial resources, and childcare. But she's determined, compassionate, resourceful, and wants to look for training and support. And but and she has to she has to be that for her child. Is that story like similar to someone that might come through your doors? Yay. Is there anything that you'd want to know next? Like to be able to start to, this kind of person is, triggering your WIOA alarm bells. And is there like, then what's the next question you would ask this person when they come in? Okay, so the next thing is that we would ask is what their housing situation is at the moment. And then the next part is to address their most immediate barriers and then start talking about employment. Okay.
The idea, of course, is not to, to discredit her or underestimate her, motivation or determination. It's just like someone else said, do you see this type of person? And they said all the time. So yeah, it's pretty common, but even with the best intentions and motivations, it's like, well, just make sure you've taken care of these things first, because if you get ahead of yourself, we can refer you to a job with our employer network, possibly, or even part-time, and then definitely look at training to help get you on the path to a career. But if you don't have, and I'm sure all the areas have had this happen over the years, it's this, somebody maybe loses their housing situation, kind of falls through, whatever they have, if they're staying with a friend or a relative or something,
Hmm.
and then they have to stop, their training, or they can't go to work, because they're understandably, they're trying to figure out, where they're going to live, or if they need to get their car fixed, or for childcare. So with that, those that we would probably want to just take a look at, like, what can we do, which of our partner agencies and or just other community agencies, services that we're familiar with, where can who can we connect you with to try to make sure that, I mean, if these barriers are even present, maybe she's already got it worked out when they come in, but
Hmm.
those are the things that we would want to make sure we're addressing first before, getting them into something where they might not, you know, that's, if their situation's precarious, then they may not be able to follow through, or there could be an unexpected interruption um, in their training, or in their job, which could happen anyway. But let's try to uh, prevent that, or limit the possibility of that happening. Possible.
Okay, cool. So I'm hearing this is an all the time scenario. These are the next things we would ask. And so like having some of these details available, like, would help us enter this person into the system and kind of get them down the path of what they needed to do. So our next person is John. He's 36. He's a skilled welder, and he's been doing it for about 10 years. He's recently laid off, and he's um, trying to navigate unemployment and looking for a new job. He has 2 kids. His family is his primary form of support, and he's willing to learn new skills or transition in different roles if needed. And he's coming to the center looking for support. Is this somebody that um, would trigger your VO alarm bells? I'm getting a yes. So what are some of like the questions we would ask to this person? Is it the same here where we would ask about childcare and transportation, that kind of stuff?
I think for this one, it's a little different than the other one because this one is, they've been working consistently for, however many years, and they have the skills necessary to find employment. So I think it's more of a conversation about what type of employment that they're looking for, if they're looking for a change, if they're looking for, being in the same type of employment. Um, and that kind of leads into talking about what training options, if any, would be available to them. Because I mean, like welding is a in-demand industry, right? And
Mm-hmm.
application. So, we may not be able to provide retraining, but possibly depending on if there's like other advancements in welding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, those types of questions would need to be kind of talked about so that, you know, they might just say, I just need to go back to work. So then, it'd be trying to assist them in finding employment then.
So this is somebody that you may enter, give some local services, help connect to a job, but may not do a training program or other or anything else.
Right. But, if there were a actual welder and now, they, let's say, want to stay in the industry and they had, let's say, some, health issues, like they can't, had knee issues where they can't bend anymore, then some sort of retraining might be needed to maybe if they want to stay in that industry, some sort of management type of training, right? Or
Mhm.
something, you could explore something like that if they have conditions that would prevent them from going back to the same type of work or if they need a change. So that would all be in that conversation, I would think.
Thanks for putting in here. I'm seeing the chat as well, so I will get that entered as well too. Next person we have is Mike. He's in his 30s. He's has a low income background and he wants to become a truck driver. But he has prior driving convictions and he's trying to turn his life around and he has family friends around to support him, but he needs to help to find a job despite his criminal record. Is this a likely scenario? What would be some of the next actions for Mike?
Probably similar to the last two, especially the last one with Waller, where it's, kind of, we would probably look at the, what kind of driving convictions are we talking about? There's some and some, luckily in our region and probably throughout the state, but, I mean, in our
Mm-hmm.
up north here, I mean, there's so many truck driving schools that, a lot of them have different, kind of specialties with working with employers that are justice impacted friendly, as they say. Like they know a lot of employers. They're like kind of really, second chance kind of oriented. If they're driving convictions, they might say, "Hey, we know this company, Schneider Freight, has a really good record of giving people a second chance. If depending on how long ago those driving corrections were. So, the truck driving schools are usually really knowledgeable, or contacting some of the freight companies ourselves maybe, and seeing if it's, just how limiting are these convictions going to be, on his chances of getting hired. And then again, if it, I had forgotten, but Paul raised a good point, with the welder, like if there is, like in the welder's case, maybe there's physical limitations over the years, like, hey, I can't do this job anymore. So in this case, it's like, if you can't do, truck driving, then, what else, what is it about truck driving that you think, is a good fit for you? Like, are you good with your, um, hands, logistics, planning, maybe inventory management, maybe there's something related to his interests, but that's, then you'd go back to to that square one with that, and see what other, types of employment are going to be more feasibly attainable um, with those, justice involved, issues or. Sorry, I was rambling, but my
No,
fingers are getting tired typing. Usually I've been typing them to make it easier for you to cut and paste. So this one I was being lazy. I'm like, I'm just gonna tell you.
all good. Um, I'm here to be the scribe. So you just open up. Um, so good. That's our next up we have Jessica. She's 20. She's been working at a manufacturing plant since she graduated high school as a line operator. Um, and then the plant's about to close, and so she's concerned about finding new employment. She's highly motivated, and she would like to explore job placement services or other things to help transition to a new career path. Is this a feasible scenario? Okay, I'm hearing that it's something that happens. What are our next steps with Jessica?
Well, she may be a good fit for the youth program. As you said, she was in her 20s, so
So are there questions different than what you would ask for adult on this one?
I think kind of the questions are the same, but it just
Okay,
the opportunities for the youth are maybe a little different. Like but she also has whatever work experience, so she might not need as many, like, work-based learning or just something. Maybe she wants to do a new career. I don't know, but there might be more opportunities for her in the youth program. But since she worked, maybe she doesn't need it. So
Yeah, sometimes, work experience, like internships, it could be more. Yeah, the questions are all the same, kind of for everybody as far as, what your needs are, barriers and that. But yeah, there's more, like Chrissy said, I mean, there could be more opportunities for, uh, other services, with, under one Y.
okay.
But also, and again, I know this varies, from Elwea to Elwea, depending on, how, um, you know, how many how feasible like apprenticeships are, you know, as far as you know, some areas have a lot of you know, apprenticeship programs or trades uh, uh, unions, organizations, you know, that their apprenticeships are more common and more attainable in some areas than for some of us. So, but if it is an area where you know you have, um, and of course, if she wants to stay in a you know in a career with in you know technical trades and or manufacturing technology, then that could be a really good route for her as well. Because I mean, and again, it's not as it's not as easy as it sounds, but and people out that work with apprenticeships on in the group here know. It's but yeah, I mean that would be something to keep an eye out for because I mean, gosh, if she's got experience and she's got a good work ethic, a lot of companies tell us like, you know, man, we can get people to show up, we'll train them. They're setting the bar pretty low because the demand for their difficulty in finding workers. It's getting better, but you know, in the last few years, it was pretty hard for them. So I would say she could be a really good candidate for an apprenticeship, especially if it could give her a good livable wage too. That's the other thing to look at is kind of like where she's at as far as her financial independent. You know, is she currently living with family? Does she, you know, is she kind of self sufficient? Those kinds of things.
I think in this particular situation, it seems in this scenario, she doesn't really know what she wants to go into next. It almost seems like, you know, in this type of scenario, they're kind of like, I came from manufacturing, but I want to change careers, but I don't know what it is, right? So for us, I think it's the first thing that we do is we have them do an like an interest survey type of thing, and see if there's something that might perk their interest. Um, and then that they can explore that to see if it might be a good fit, if it's something that they, you know, perks their, you know, says, hey, this is something that I might actually enjoy doing, and then do that research. We have that for every single person that come into our program, but especially for those people that say, I really don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something different. Um, and then we help them explore those options that come up on those surveys and, you know, have a discussion about them and see if those are some things that they want to actually pursue or if it's they want to go a complete different direction.
So next one is Alex. He's 17. Thanks, Crystal. And Crystal's talking about rapid response sessions and dislocate worker and plant layoff stuff, and I'll get that in here. Our next person is Alex. He's 17. He just dropped out of high school, and yeah, you know, his family has financial structure. He's got lack of support, and then dropping out of high school didn't help. But he wants to help completing his education and finding a stable job. He thinks he might be interested in vocational training programs. And he has, you know, support from his friends, but not really from his family. Is this somebody that might walk in your centers? There's some yeses. There we go. So we have them all on one page. What would be some next steps for Alex?
This seems to be similar to the other one. I mean, you would have to kind of assess their career interest because he doesn't really seem to have an idea of what he wants to do. And then explore those interests, including internships and apprenticeships and things like that.
The check will come out of checking, right?
Okay.
And then the other thing, and I kind of put this in one group, is assessing their barriers to being successful in a training or employment. I mean, that includes family support, transportation, he's a 17-year-old, but he could have a kid. And and so forth. So we would have to assess all those potential challenges or barriers that he might be facing and figuring out if we need to do referrals, if we need to do if it's something that we can provide directly, things like that to make sure that if he does go into training, there's that support that allows him to complete that training.
In the chat, we're talking about GD and credit recovery programs to get the diploma, interest surveys, just like you said, and occupational training. Awesome. Last up, we have Maria. She's in her late 20s. She has several children, and she's going through a divorce. She's the primary caregiver for her children, and she has a past experience as a retail associate. But the divorce is impacting her financial situation, and she's looking for a job that provides income for her family while accommodating her responsibilities as a single parent. And so she's looking for employment opportunities that can help stabilize her home situation and get her on a growth platform so she can support her children herself. Is this someone that comes through your centers? I'm seeing some yeses in chat. What would you do next with her?
I think assessing her childcare would be like the first thing, because you really can't help her, unless she has childcare set up. So definitely talking about childcare and figuring out, how she can pay for that too. So that would be the first thing. And then figure out, what kind of schedule she could work schedules she can have with the childcare.
Okay. Other than childcare, it sounds like the next steps are, probably doing more of those interest surveys and figuring out what kind of experience she does have. Is that right? those are the scenarios I was able to come up with. Is there somebody else that comes in your centers often that we should account for when we're looking to make sure that the system includes everybody? What if someone came in your centers that did not speak English? How often does that happen?
You know what, in our area, we have a lot of people who have, we can arrange for interpreters. Or we have staff, you know, try to have bilingual staff, at least Spanish and English.
Mm-hmm.
But we would have to try to arrange for an interpreter. You know, obviously before you could do anything.
And as a gut tech, um, like you guys have told me that these are all people that come into your centers. Um, is this giving us a majority of the people that come in here? Not the majority?
I'd say it's a fair cross representation. There isn't any scenarios about a person who's disabled,
Okay.
and we do get those every once in a while. And in our case, even if our staff, doesn't specialize in addressing those issues, we work closely with partners, rehab services, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
make the appropriate referrals to get them what they need in order to get them to a point where they either would like assistance getting employment or training. So address those barriers first. Maybe they need a job coach, those kind of things.
I have one in the chat is veterans who are they're coming in, a veteran comes in, they're getting them to apply for VIOA, and you're trying to coordinate the benefits that they receive, as the priority or service participant. Do I have that right?
Yeah, because obviously veterans get priority of service in our program, so, and then also trying to see if they're aware of what benefits they have as a veteran, if they have GI bills, if they have, any other kind of training benefits. I know we don't need to utilize those, but if they go for trainings that's approved that are more than what the local WIA would be able to assist with, then they can combine those GI bills or whatever veteran benefits they have to finish out that training, right?
Mhm.
And then oftentimes those benefits also have like a stipend that they may receive while they're in training as well through the veteran services. So, that might be something they can take advantage of if they're not working. And so it's coordinating all those benefits.
Okay. Anybody else that's common that we should include? Sounds like we've exhausted here, and I know it's hard to come up with some of these on the spot as we're talking about them, but I appreciate your participation to help us understand like some of the people that come in. I'm sure you'll be seeing these people again as we move forward and try to move through. So some of these are going to help us with data entry, and obviously asking the right question, might come back and ask you like, you gave me some really good stuff for the next steps. Some where we get stuck, some possible answers that they might answer on an application. So this is going to help us make sure that we're vetting the system properly, and that is able to be used for the types of people that walk in your doors. So I appreciate your participation with me today. And I'll get these updated and posted in a place you can see them. That's all I have for today. Al, I know you wanted to ask a little bit about the assignment we gave last week.
Yep. Just a reminder for everyone. I think we got it all shared correctly. The spreadsheet that has document types, I saw a little activity in it. We would like to get this kind of wrapped up by this time next week so we can kind of review it. Just to remind you, I'll kind of bring it up here. I think it's in discovery and documentation resources, document types. Here we go. Bring this up real quick. And so just kind of reminder, if anybody had any questions or anything like that. Let me find should be this one. Okay, so it was this spreadsheet has all the current document types in it. And before we get this up to the state SMEs, we would like some thoughts on it. Over here is a column, remember, if you think we need it or don't need it, if you think it should have a different name or not, and make sure you state whether it's PII in that document and any comments you want over there, and where about in the subject matter of the application or just general customer contract, any of those. And those come from right over here. So if you don't see the one you want, you can add it right to there. Is there any questions about this homework assignment? Great. We'll be talking through this next week. So hopefully you can get a chance to get into that. And that's all I have. What else is on the agenda? Do we have anything else, Lynette or Sarah?
We do not.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.